Hello Pokemon trainers, welcome back to another Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Battle Stadium singles video here on iStarLead TV. This is part of my Battle Stadium singles spotlight series where I feature a unique moveset for a specific Pokemon in Battle Stadium singles in the current Regulation F meta. Today we're looking at Incineroar, and look how cool that is. There's a rainbow over his head. That's probably a good sign for him, right? And yeah, we're talking about, oh, he's tired. Wow, interesting. This is a good like thumbnail if there wasn't like the grass there, but let's talk about Incineroar today. So Incineroar was newly introduced into the Pokemon Scarlet and Violet Battle Stadium singles meta with Regulation F, and it is one of the best Pokemon in doubles. Look at the way he strides. One of the best Pokemon in the doubles format. Hasn't gotten that much love in singles, however. Right now, I think it's actually a pretty solid usage. I think it's like in the top like 20 or 30. I know that doesn't sound like that great, but there's hundreds of Pokemon that are available, and even a lot of Pokemon that were very common in earlier formats in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet are being used less than Incineroar. So either way, Incineroar is a Pokemon with a lot of quirks, a lot of things that make it really good. You know, I think it's comparable a little bit to Arcanine, but also like it has its own things that make it really good. So let's get right to it. Here is our Incineroar moveset for Battle Stadium singles. And of course, there's a lot of different ways to use Incineroar, but with this video series, I like to feature just one specific moveset for these Pokemon. This one is tanky. It's got enough HP, almost max HP, but it has a little bit less than max just so that it has an odd number of HP so it can switch into Stealth Rock more often. And then the rest of it is in defense, and I put enough attack EVs to one-hit KO Flutter Mane with Flare Blitz. So that's standard Flutter Mane with no investment. You might sometimes run into more bulky variants of Flutter Mane. So I know there was a time where I was facing Flutter Mane with this Pokemon, and I used Flare Blitz, and they survived it pretty handily. And I was like, wait, I thought I was supposed to one-hit KO, but presumably they had investment in HP and or defense. So keep that in mind. But most Flutter Manes that you see, typically with the booster energies, I don't believe they run investment in HP or defense, so you can one-hit KO them with the Flare Blitz. Then we have, just kind of going back up to the top of the moveset, we have Will-O-Wisp and Parting Shot. Of course, one of the biggest reasons why Incineroar is so good is its ability Intimidate. It also has a pretty solid typing offensively and defensively, but Intimidate is a big one. Obviously, that means you can freely switch into physical attackers in the meta, and there are a lot of them. That includes Dragonite, Chien-Pao, Urshifu sometimes, we'll talk about that. You know, Pokemon like Scizor. I mean, just any physical attacker you see, you can just switch into them, lower their attack stat, and then you have the option to burn them with Will-O-Wisp, which further weakens them. So I found that this Incineroar set is very good against Dragonite and also pretty good against Chien-Pao, because you can burn them, and then you just, at that point, they're pretty much useless. And then Parting Shot is there to switch out. It's very good at getting initiative, so you can, if you're predicting a switch, you can go for Parting Shot, and then you weaken whatever comes in, because Parting Shot lowers their attack and special attack. So even if they're a special attacker, you weaken them, and that allows you to go into your next Pokemon, and you have an easier time against the opponent. Finally, we have Knockoff, which is, you know, probably a pretty self-explanatory move, a really good Dark-type move. Pretty much any Pokemon that has access to it probably should run it if they are a dark type, because it gives stab and it just hits really hard when they have an item. Also, it knocks off their item, which in some cases is absolutely huge for Pokemon like bulky Pokemon with leftovers, or Pokemon like Porygon 2 with Eviolite. Just knocking off that item is sometimes super clutch. So this whole moveset for Incineroar is great. Obviously, it looks a little weird because we are running a tanky set, but we're also running Flare Blitz. But I just found that, you know, Flare Blitz is just such a good move, and just closing things out against certain Pokemon, you know, hitting them hard. You know, it hits Goldango super effectively, hits Flutter Mane super hard, obviously. It hits Chien-Pao. It's just a great little, like, you know, move to use. I guess it's not a little move. If you didn't want to run Flare Blitz, though, there are a few options. I think it gets Fire Punch. There's a new move called, I think, Temper Flare, which is 75 base power. That's another option. Obviously, those are a lot weaker, but it allows you to to invest more in defense. So if you're going to use those moves, you probably could just remove the attack EVs here and then just throw those into defense to tank hits a lot better, or maybe even special defense if you want. But either way, this is the set where I'm at. We like Tera Water, or I like Tera Water here because obviously we're weak to water, and we're weak to a lot of other types, but by going Tera Water, it removes all of our weaknesses. We are no longer weak to ground, no longer weak to fighting, no longer weak to anything else that we would be weak to, water, obviously, like I said. So I like that typing I like that Tera typing as well. And our typing is also really unique and interesting because we're really good against Goldango, which is a Pokemon that's also pretty common and pretty strong because we resist both of their stab moves. Against Fluttermane, we resist Shadow Ball, which is nice, and we take neutral damage from Moonblast, but we are bulky enough that we shrug off these Moonblasts really nicely. So if you're up against a Fluttermane, you're actually not typically afraid of it because you can survive a hit and return the KO with that Flare Blitz. So as I'm pointing out here, this Pokemon is really good against a lot of the top Pokemon in the meta, especially, Ogerpon is another one, right? Ogerpon rarely has a move that can hit you unless they have Play Rough or Rock Tomb, and even still, you're getting that Intimidate on them, so you can probably tank those hits pretty well and do some good damage with Flare Blitz because Fire Ogerpon takes neutral damage from it. You'll notice how I didn't mention a Pokemon like Urshifu. Urshifu's a tricky one. Now, honestly, the main reason I went Tera Water on this set is because of Urshifu. Urshifu's one of the few top Pokemon right now that this Incineroar set is not fantastic against, and that's because if you do not Terrasilize against it, they're dead, even if you intimidate them. Or I'm sorry, you're dead, even if you intimidate them, because Surging Strike always critical hits, which means it ignores any stat changes, which of course means that it ignores the attack drop from Intimidate. So it'll always do that consistent damage, and it'll easily knock you out. So if you Terrasilize, you end up resisting it, which really turns the battle on its head, and you can burn them with Will-O-Wisp. So I guess in that case, if you do Terrasilize, you do end up having a very good matchup against Urshifu as well. So like I said, you're really well positioned against most everything in the meta. Even against Ursaluna, who you can't really do that much damage to, and they can do a ton of damage to you. You can either knock off their item, which can be useful, and then you'll probably die, get off some good damage with Flare Blitz before dying, or even just Parting Shot to weaken them and go into something else. So my point here is that Incineroar is really strong. It's actually a really well-positioned Pokemon, and I have featured a couple of teams with it, so I'll post a couple links to those videos to the teams that I featured in Battle Stadium singles so far. I also have an upcoming team that I've been building and testing that's actually been doing really well for me on Showdown that also has Incineroar. So something I didn't really talk about is like this Incineroar, again, it's tanky, right? Your goal with this Incineroar is to weaken the opponent and get off damage when possible. And to that end, you want to pair this Incineroar with strong Pokemon. I don't think you will have too much success if you pair this Incineroar with similar Pokemon. So if you pair this Incineroar with like other bulky Pokemon that don't do that much damage, you're not going to be in a great spot. You can pair it with other bulky Pokemon that also hit hard, like Ursaluna, for example, because again, you're weakening the enemy so that they're not doing that much damage to you. Then you can go into your Pokemon, shrug off their hits, and just, kill them or something. You can go into stuff like Salamence to intimidate them even further and start setting up Dragon Dances. You could go into Dragonite, who's another Pokemon that's fantastic. Just using this Incineroar to weaken the enemy, get in damage where you can, and then switch into something really strong to take over the game. That is how you want to play this. But either way, this is a fantastic set. I've been having a lot of success with it, and I've been really enjoying it. And, again, you don't see a lot of Incineroars on the ladder, but whenever I do run into them, I'm a little afraid because they just have so many tools that can weaken your Pokemon. I didn't really talk about it, but Citrus Berry is there. Probably doesn't need too much explanation. We're already super tanky. We already survive hits from most everything in the meta. And Citrus Berry just gives us that longevity to continue to weaken them and continue to just do damage over time. So that is my Incineroar set. You should go ahead and try it out. I highly advise you, if you have an Incineroar that's burning a hole in your pocket and you don't play that much doubles like me, because once again, it's very, very good in doubles and everyone knows that. In singles, at least, it can still hold its own and it's still a very strong Pokemon. So thank you very much for watching today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Please do leave a like and subscribe for more Pokemon Scarlet and Violet videos like this one. And as always, please let me know in the comments what you thought of the video, and if you have any suggestions for other Pokemon I should feature in the future. Because I have a lot that I want to show off, and yeah, this is just the beginning. So thank you, everyone. We hope you have a great day. Incineroar definitely hopes you have a great day. So you better have a great day, otherwise he's going to come for you.